Okay, we got off to a good start to the season with a win against Utah State. I thought it was a great effort by our guys from start to finish. We weren't real efficient throughout parts of the game, but did enough to get the win and hung in there to the bitter end, and it was really good to get that win under our belt. Moving forward to Weber State, this week we've got a lot of things to address that we got to get better at, and that's our focal point. Obviously, is taking care of our deficiencies and trying to strengthen those. I think there was 7 or 8 Division I teams that got beat by 1AA teams this past weekend, so that certainly will get our players' attention, and we know that we got to play well. And Weber's coming off a big win, a lot of offense, rushed the ball extremely well, and really put up a lot of points. And so we've got our work cut out for us on defense. But like I said, more than anything this week, we got to fix what we're not doing so well. So questions.
Coach, can you talk about what you saw from Travis Wilson week 1? What kind of progress did you see from him?
Saw a lot of growth and maturity when you compare it to last season. Now, we saw that same growth and maturity in spring ball and throughout fall camp, but obviously he hadn't had a chance to show it in the game until this past week. But he made great decisions. He threw the ball very efficiently. He was over 300 yards on only 28 attempts, which is outstanding if it only takes you 28 attempts to get over 300 yards. Took care of the ball as far as not turning it over with interceptions. And just ran the offense. Did a good job of staying poised and making sure that the offense ran as we wanted it to.
Coach, the loss of Kenneth Scott, obviously a big one. How much of a drop-off is it to Anthony Denham and Sean Fitzgerald, or do you expect eventually to get back up to where Kenneth was?
Well, the guys, Anthony and Sean that you mentioned, those guys stepped up big time in the game. They were our number 1 and 2 receiver as far as statistics after all was said and done, and so I thought they both responded. It's a big loss losing Kenny Scott. He's him and Drez, as we mentioned several times throughout the course of camp and game week. They're our 2 best receivers. They had separated themselves from the rest of the group, but both Fitzgerald and Denham both stepped up and really performed well for us Thursday night.
Were you pleased with the effort of your secondary, your corners and your safeties in the pass game?
Effort, yes. Outcome, not so much. Chucky Keaton had a big day throwing the football, and our techniques were a little bit sloppy. Our zone drops, and it wasn't all the defensive backs. The linebackers didn't have the route awareness that we need in the zone coverages. Defensive line, I think we can get better pass rush, which will speed things up for us. But overall, our pass defense was very, very below average, I guess you could say. Does that make sense? Very, very below average.
Any guys in the locker room or on the practice field you're seeing really step up and become those vocal leaders that you look for?
Well, all 4 captains are doing a great job of that. Tenny and JT Tofiano, the other 2, are really responding. Eric Rowe is a guy that is a great leader for us. BJ Fajoko out of the linebacker core. Jake Murphy out of the tight end position. So yeah, there's 5 or 6 other guys in addition to the captains who have really been instrumental to the leadership of the team.
Were you at all concerned with the missed opportunities at bringing down Chucky Keaton in the backfield in the pocket, or do you just attribute that to how good of a player he is?
Both. He's a tremendous player, and he's very difficult to sack. And we had him, I don't know how many times, a lot of times back there in the backfield, and he'd break 2, 3, sometimes 4 tackles or make people miss. And great players do that. I mean, he's a great player, and the great players bring a whole bag of minuses to the game, and they hand them out each play to defenders as the play goes on.
Coach, you talked a lot about stepping up the offense, the tempo of the offense. Were you guys satisfied with the tempo?
Very much so. I think tempo's overrated. I mean, I hear so much about tempo; it's starting to be a little irritating. And if my information is correct, there was 10 teams in Division I football that snapped it 88 times or more this past weekend, and 7 of those teams lost. And so there's a point of diminishing returns for tempo. And it's not about tempo. It's about execution and the players that are, playing for you. And so tempo is all fine and dandy, but like I said, there's a point where if you start to go too fast, I think it has a negative effect. And so I think we snapped it 74, 75 times, which is just about right as far as we're concerned.